to have a debate on it.
Hi, welcome to the newsroom. I'm Asuma Katauka, and today we're going to be looking at top 5 stories and news from today. So first, we're starting this hour with the breaking news, the latest post of Trump in his Truth Social. He has posted another hallmark. Now, this post reflects. Now we're talking about the post he has posted today at 9:25 p.m. Now he has said Maryland, Virginia, and Washington, D.C., who are responsible for the massive sewage spill in the Potomac River, must get to work immediately. And it goes on. Now, analyzing this post, we see his political communication style. While the surface topic is a sewage spill in the Potomac River, the message quickly expands into a broader partisan critique of Democratic leadership in Virginia and Washington, D.C. First, let's look at the structure of his message that frames Trump as both outside the problem and uniquely capable of solving it, as he emphasizes that the federal government is not at all involved, distancing himself from it responsibly, yet in the very next breath he asserts we can fix it. Now, second, the post is infused with urgency. The repeated use of capitalization, immediately, act fast, creates a sense of crisis. This stylistic device mirrors his broader communication approach on social media, where emotional intensity often substitutes for detailed policy discussion. Now, rather than outlining specific remediation steps, environmental regulations, or funding mechanisms, the message relies on dramatic language to signal leadership. This is Trump's style. Now, overall, the post functions less as an environmental policy statement and more as a political theater. The sewage spill becomes symbolic, a metaphor for what he portrays as democratic mismanagement by combining crisis language, blame assignment, ideological labeling, and personal bravado. The message strengthens partisan identity and reinforces his brand as a decisive outsider willing to confront Democratic officials directly, whether one views the tone as assertive leadership or inflammatory rhetoric largely depends on prior political alignment, but as communication strategy, it is unmistakable that this is consistent with his long-established style. Now we are going to be moving on from Trump's Truth Social post, and we will be moving on to Iran-US talks that have concluded today after 4 hours. So last discussion between Iran and US, it took only about 40 minutes, if I recall correctly, but this time it was much longer, 4 hours. This took place not in Oman, unlike the last time, which did take place in Oman, and Oman was a mediator. This time also Oman was a mediator, but however they moved these negotiations to Switzerland, and in Oman's ambassador's residence. This took place over there. Now, US and Iranian officials concluded a new round of nuclear talks in Geneva against the backdrop of an expanded US military presence in the Middle East and following weeks of deadly domestic protests and turmoils in Iran. Talks appear to have focused on Iran's nuclear program, with US officials seeking curbs on Tehran to keep it from developing a nuclear weapon. In exchange, Iran is seeking reprieve from crushing US sanctions. The sides met in Geneva today for over 3 hours, almost 4 hours. According to reports afterwards, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that he and his US counterparts had much more serious discussions than during the round earlier this month, and that they were able to reach a set of guiding principles according to a statement published by Iran's state media. But Araghchi has cautioned that drafting an agreement would remain difficult. He has said, and a third round of talks will be held after two teams draft and exchange possible text of a deal, but no date has been set according to Araghchi. Now, the United States has yet to comment on this as well. We will be eyeing this, and to sum it all up, I'm bringing and welcoming my colleague Marisha Barv to this discussion. Marisha, what more can you tell us about this?
Yes, well, Asuma, the talks between Iran and the USA come at a very crucial standpoint right now. Now, even as they have concluded the second round of talks between both the counterparts, it is important to know that these talks are crucial only because only due to the fact of US's rising intentions and tensions that were always rising when it comes to Iran. In fact, Trump, who is US's president, has time and again showed his threats towards evading Iran, and now the fact that talks to mediate these issues comes at a very crucial time. Now, when you look at it, these are indirect nuclear talks as per reports. When you look at it from the outlook of it, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi described the talks as a good start and stated that the path for the deal has started. He mentioned that both the sides reached agreements on guiding principles for a potential deal, that is. Now, like you mentioned, the talks were mediated by Oman, with both sides exchanging technical notes through Omani facilitators. In fact, Oman's foreign minister has gone ahead and said that the talks are in good progress. Now, key negotiators, which include the US delegation, which is led by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, while Iran's delegation is led by Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. But let's talk about the next steps now. Both sides will work on drafting separate texts, with the next round of talks to be scheduled once these drafts are exchanged. And when it comes to the sanctions and nuclear issues, Iran emphasized that any deal must involve full sanctions relief, focusing solely on its nuclear issue. With military tensions that rise as these talks took place, Iran conducted naval drills and temporarily closed parts of the strategic Strait of Hormuz, while US bolstered its regional presence. Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei warned that any US attempts to dictate terms would undermine negotiations, stressing the importance of a compromise. So all in all, Asuma, this is what we know of the talks that are being held at Geneva, Switzerland, with regards to both the Iranian and the US delegation, which is being mediated by Oman.
Thank you very much, Marisha, for sharing us that updates regarding this. Now we are going to be moving on. We have a breaking news. US has stricken one more boat, and apparently there were 11 people who were killed in this latest strike by US on alleged drug smuggling boats in the Eastern Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea. The US military said on X, and the strikes late Monday killed 4 on the first vessel in the Eastern Pacific, 4 on the second vessel in the Eastern Pacific, and 3 on the third vessel in the Caribbean. No US military forces were harmed, US Southern Command said on a post on X for now. Now we move on, and we are focusing on US-Russia-Ukraine trilateral that has taken place today as we approach the 4th year of the war. Now, Now, nearly 2.6 million Ukrainian children have been displaced. UNICEF has said this today. More than a third of Ukrainian children, totaling of 2.6 million children, remain displaced as the war nears fifth year, the UN Agency for Child Rights, UNICEF, has said today. That figures includes more than 791,000 children inside of Ukraine and nearly 1.8 million child refugees outside the country in diaspora. Now, this agency has also added that of those displaced, 1 in 3 teenagers between the ages of 15 and 19 have reported to having to move at least twice because of this war. While looking at the negotiations that took place today, lead Ukrainian negotiator has said security humanitarian issues are on agenda. Rustem Umerov has thanked the Trump administration for its engagement and consistent work in the negotiating process. In a post on X, Umerov, the lead Ukrainian negotiator in Geneva, has said his team had a clear mandate and framework approved by Ukrainian President Zelensky. And also, while today we still saw Russia and Ukraine fighting. The Russian Ministry of Defense has said that it intercepted the drones between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. local time today, and among that they have said 19 were destroyed. The ministry said 15 were over the Belgorod region, 2 were over Kursk, and 2 were over Crimea. Now, at this point, we do not know so much about the status of the talks, but for the history and what we know so far, we'll be bringing in my colleague Marisha Barv to this. Thank you very much, Marisha, for staying with us. Marisha, what more can you tell us about the trilateral talks?
Yes, well, Asma, it is important to note that these talks are rather high-level talks and come at high stakes, especially after the war that has been waged between Ukraine and Russia for nearly 4 years now. Geneva is being put at a pedestal right now with as it gains immense traction, as it is holding these high-level talks at this point. Now, you see the US, Ukraine and Russia who come together to hold trilateral talks in order to discuss a few key issues. Now, the agenda of the trilateral which was conducted earlier today was revolved around security guarantees, territorial concessions and humanitarian concerns. All these three have been negotiation pointers for both Russia and Ukraine, and the mediation of these three will further result in talks of peace and sustainable peace within the shared borders and the regions in both Russia and Ukraine. Now, the context of these talks further are that the talks started shortly after a large Russian missile and drone strike on Ukraine's energy infrastructure, which Kyiv condemned as a sign of Russia's lack of commitment to peace. Now, this has caused for 3 delegations to come together to hold these talks. Now, key delegations include USA, which is led by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. The delegation includes senior Pentagon military officials for the Geneva round. Further to which, in Ukraine, the delegation is led by Rustem Umerov, who is negotiating within a specific mandate from President Zelensky. Carrying it forward with Russia, which is led by Admiral Igor Kustikov, who is the chief of the main intelligence dictatorate, and other officials from the Ministry of Defense. Now, when it comes to major stumbling blocks in the negotiation, like I mentioned before, territory is one of the stumbling blocks, where Russia demands full control over Donbas region, which is in the Donetsk and Luhansk region and other annexed territories, while Ukraine refuses to cede any sovereign territory, considering it simply unconstitutional. And when it comes to NATO and security guarantees, Russia seeks a neutral Ukraine with no NATO troops on Ukrainian soil, while on Ukraine's end, Ukraine demands strong bilateral security guarantees from the US and a clear path to EU and NATO membership. Military is also a point of stumble between the two, where Russia wants limits on the seas and capabilities of Ukrainian armed forces, while on Ukraine's end, they stress that for a need of stronger military to prevent future Russian aggression. And when it comes to the historical context and deadlines, the first two rounds took place in Abu Dhabi back in January and early February this year. These meetings resulted in no strategic breakthrough, but led to the first prisoner of war exchange in 5 months. Now, when it comes to the US deadline, Trump administration has set a June 2026 deadline for the final agreement to end. Now, considering all of this, Asuma, only time will tell if Russia and Ukraine can finally come to a peace negotiation with the mediation of the USA.
Yes, indeed, we will be eyeing that. Thank you very much, Marisha, for sharing that insight. Do stay with us as we'll come back to you for our next story as well. Now, moving on to France and India. Exciting news for India and France. Now, Prime Minister Modi and Macron have met today. Prime Minister Modi is hosting Macron for 3 days in India. Now, today's main developments are negotiations. Sorry, not the negotiation, but there has been a lot of things in their agenda. Let's start from the helicopters. From helicopter assembly lines to hammer missiles, key pacts were signed as Prime Minister Modi hosted France's Macron. Now, Prime Minister Modi has welcomed French President Emmanuel Macron in Mumbai today, and they have held bilateral talks to strengthen India-France relations, upgrading them to a special global strategic partnership. The two democracies have announced a sweeping expansion of cooperation, unveiling more than 20 agreements. The discussions also covered crucial areas from the production of hammer missiles in India to introducing AI in health at New Delhi's AIMS. AIMS. Prime Minister Modi and Macron vowed to boost cooperation in defense, trade, and critical minerals, describing the bilateral ties as a force for global stability amid growing geopolitical turbulence. Now, Macron arrived in Mumbai on Tuesday morning, and he also apparently jogged in Marine Drive in Mumbai, and he also paid homage to the victims of the 26 November terror attacks. The leaders worked to refine and enhance the partnership between New Delhi and Paris. Following the talks, they also virtually inaugurated an assembly line in Karnataka to build Airbus H125 helicopters, which are expected to strengthen India's aerospace manufacturing capabilities. Now, Macron has hailed acceleration of France and India ties amid changing international order. He has praised remarkable acceleration of France ties with India in response to the changing international order. Macron has met with Prime Minister Modi and also a few other delegations as well who were present during his meeting with President Macron. Now, Macron has said that this shift between their ties comes in response to the changing international order, just like Prime Minister Modi hailed this, adding that both countries did not want to be subjected to any form of hegemony or the conflict of a few. Now, also something to note is that a potential multi-billion-dollar Dassault Rafale fighter jet deal, which includes 114 additional French fighter jets for New Delhi. Macron and his wife, also Brigitte, have arrived to Mumbai, and this is marking their fourth visit to India since taking office in 2017, and they will be staying here for 3 days. Now, for further information on this, I'd like to welcome back my colleague Marisha Bark. Marisha, what more can you tell us about US-India's exciting ties?
Yes, well, Asima, India has grandly welcomed Emmanuel Macron, the French president, to Mumbai, which is the economic capital of India. Now, the bilateral and the meeting of Modi and Macron has resulted in a 21 transformative outcome strengthening both India and France relations. Now, both of them have always positively condoned the relationships between both, and this meet in fact further strengthens the tie, like I mentioned, with the 21 transformative outcomes. Let's go through each of the outcomes now. France and India have taken multiple sectors in consideration, which include defense, technology, healthcare, and global collaboration as the few outcomes of this bilateral. Now, when it comes to the strategic and political ties, we see upgraded partnership with India and France ties elevated to a special global strategic partnership. New foreign minister dialogue established to monitor the implementation of this partnership and the Horizon 2047 roadmap. When it comes to defense and security, like you touched upon, the inauguration of the H-125 helicopter assembly line in Karnataka was done to produce helicopters capable of flying to Mount Everest heights. When it comes to missile production, joint ventures between Bharat Electronic Limited and France Safran to produce hammer missiles in India. When it comes to the military integration of both these nations, reciprocal deployment of officers at Indian Army and French land forces have made its establishments, and renewal of the formal defense cooperation agreement has also come about. When it comes to technology and innovation and startups, India-France Year of Innovation has launched to foster collaboration between startups, MSMEs, and researchers in both of these countries. Strategic cooperation between the T-Hub and Nord France to boost startup and tech growth. When it comes to advanced materials, letter of intent to create a center on advanced materials between India's DST and France's CNRS. And when it comes to digital sciences, the launch of Indo-French Center for Digital Sciences and Technology has been seen. And when you look at the critical minerals and emerging technologies, both France and India have come about a joint agreement as well, Asima. With this, there is a list of healthcare and life sciences and economic and energy infrastructure deals that have come about. But to know about the trade growth, bilateral trade surpasses $15 billion annually, with France becoming India's third largest trading partner in the EU. So considering all of this, Asima, this has been a positive visit. This has in fact strengthened both France and India's relations, and we further hope for better and peaceful partnership between the two nations. Over to you, Asima.
Yes. Thank you. You have perfectly summed it up for us. Thank you very much, Marisha, for joining us today and staying with us throughout our newsroom. Now, last but not least, we stay on India, as there's an exciting India AI summit that's going on in India. It's called AI Impact Summit. It started on 16th of February and it's until 20th of February. Now, this is the very first AI summit that's being hosted in Southeast Asia and also in India. Now, India should be among the top 3 AI superpowers globally, was what Prime Minister Modi has said during inauguration. He has set a 2047 vision for India. And also, Indian Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw has spoke on the need for stronger regulation on deep fakes, as well as India eyes on making a more strict rules for such. As this India's AI Impact Summit 2026 commenced in the national capital, making the first time that a global convening of this scale of an AI is being organized in the global south. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has inaugurated this 5-day summit on Monday, and he has said intelligence and rationality are essential to ensure that artificial intelligence benefits society. And he said that ethics will be a key determinant of how effectively AI is used in the health sector. And as this was said by Minister of State for Science and Technology and Earth Scientist Jitendra Singh today. Now, there are a lot of leaders attending this as well, including Sundar Pichai and Sam Altman, and leaders of about 20 countries, including Brazil and France, are among those from about 100 countries expected to attend this AI Impact Summit this week, which is once again being held from February 16th to 20th. Now, my colleague Thomas Porteous will be covering this live tomorrow, so stay tuned on NewsX World for that. And that's a wrap on this.